Hey everybody, my name is Dustin. I'm a technician here at Geekmatics in Palm Harbor, Florida. You may know me or have heard of me because I've been releasing the diode measurements over the past couple of months and have been helping other people release diode measurements over the past couple of months, and it's been starting to become a big thing on the wiki page, so I'm really happy about that. And one of the reasons I've been doing that is simply because when I started a year ago, and even now today, anytime I have a question, I can always post it in the groups or ask the repair community, and they always come back with a response. They're always trying to help, and that's what I want. I want to contribute to that, and that's why I started doing the diode measurements, and that's why I want to start doing this video series. Now, to be clear, I'm still very new to this entire board level aspect. I mean, I've only been doing it a year. I've had great success with both iPhone, iPad, and MacBook, so I want to do kind of videos on everything here and kind of bring you along with my thought process and teach you as well as learn. You know, there's a lot of experts out there that I'm sure will watch my videos and critique my work and make me a better technician, and that's exactly what I want. So I think that'll be really fun. So, you know, just to start out here, I don't think, one thing before I start here, I apologize about the video quality. I'm literally recording this with a microscope camera, my iPhone 10, and a webcam on my laptop, and to try to make these videos for you. And if I get a positive feedback, I will continue to produce videos, and I will make an investment on higher quality equipment to make these videos more clear to you so you can see all of the equipment that I'm using as I'm using it. So again, there might be some shots where you don't get to see exactly everything, and I apologize for that. This is my first video, so keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and get started. I've got two devices today. The first device I have is an iPhone 6 that was abandoned at my store 2 years ago. A brief history about that device. The guy came in, said, from my notes anyway, I don't remember 2 years ago, guy came in and said that only half his backlight worked after he took it to another shop, and they changed the screen. So 2 years ago, I looked at the device, tried a new screen, and still had the same results. So to the extent of my knowledge, that was a board level issue, which I did not fix, so I called it a no fix. Since then, it has been sitting on my ready shelf and just been kind of sitting there. The guy has no interest in it. So I thought that would be a great case to show you guys and take a look at. I did look at the office today, but the extent that I looked at it was put a new screen on it and make sure it wasn't a bad screen. So and it was not. So we're gonna go ahead and look at that one today. And the second device was actually kind of a surprise on my way home. I had one of my local B2B clients message me about an iPhone 8 Plus that had no rear camera. A little history on that one. It was a heavy drop because the back glass needed to be replaced and that. So I guess they quoted for back glass and camera at the time of check-in. So I don't think it's gonna be tech damage on this one. So that will be a good case, kind of alongside the iPhone 6 with the visual inspection and diode mode measurements at the connector. So that's kind of what we'll be getting into today. So let's get started. All right, so we're gonna start with the iPhone 6 quarter backlight. I looked at it in my office in the extent of I put a new screen on it, or a known good screen from Mobile Centrics, and that still had quarter backlight. I'm sure I did that 2 years ago, as my notes would suggest. So then I brought it home and decided to use it as a test case. So we'll go ahead and take a look. Now, my first thing would be to go ahead and do a visual inspection on the board, and I highly recommend that's what you do first. The only reason I'm not going to do that in this instance is because I want to kind of walk you through my thought process and walk you through the schematic and ZXW, which is a great tool that I use and many others use to find faults on boards, and I'll show you more in a minute here. So we're going to start with that, and then we'll go with the visual inspection, because I believe, especially with the device history, which is very important to know the device history, it was done, only had quarter backlight or whatever it was after another technician had replaced the screen. So I'm assuming something's going to be knocked off, and I'm assuming it's going to be something obvious, which makes this a great video to kind of show you guys how I got there. So, and then we'll kind of use that visual inspection tool, and hopefully that will work out for us, because I'll tell you, about 90% of the time, visual inspection is for the win. So let's go ahead and hop on the schematics and ZXW, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to bring up the schematics for the device. What device is this? iPhone 6. Let's see which one of these schematics look good. All right, that looks like the right one. All right, so now that we have the schematic open, next thing we're going to do is we are going to open up ZXW. If I can find it on the millions of icons I have on my desktop. There we go. So now we have the schematic open, and we're just waiting for ZXW to open up. Alright, here we go. So we'll go to iPhone 6. So this is ZXW. You can get this from iPad Rehab, Union Repair. They have this, it's like a yearly license. It's a fantastic tool, and I'm about to show you why. So it kind of gives you the board view here, and you can look at everything. And now I was trying to bring up the schematics, which I don't want from you. Okay, fix all this. Okay, now we're back. So essentially, it gives you the board view, which I really like. It kind of tells you the names of the components, where they're supposed to be at, all that good stuff, especially with the connectors. If you zoom in on them, it'll give you all the diode mode readings that you need for the device to work properly, so that's fantastic. So one of the first things that I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to look at the LCD connector which generates backlight. I'm going to say, okay, the connector name is J2019. Alright, so that's perfect. So that's going to be the LCD. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the schematic here, and we're going to search for J2019. And here we go, J2019. So if we look at the schematic, you'll see one thing. I'm not sure if you'll notice right off the bat here, some of these are bolder than the others. If they're bold, that means they are a power line, or that's power coming in or going out of the connector. So you'll see, if you kind of try to make sense of this here, I know it looks like a bunch of gibberish, but you can see it says PP, so that normally means power, LCM, which means LCD, and then BL, which means backlight, right? And then anoid connector, so the connector here, okay? So if you look at that, that's going to have something to do with backlight. So that may be an issue. This one here may be the issue. LCD, don't see anything that says backlight here. AP is processor, okay? So this is LCD to processor, so that's not going to be our issue. PMU to photon, alive, connect, okay? Doesn't have anything to do with backlight. So if you kind of read through these and break these down, you'll see that it's not scary as much if you just look at each part and kind of understand, like PMU here, power management unit, power management chip, whatnot. So you know, you have Sage to touch. That looks like it has something to do for the touch. And then PP5V7, that just means it's going to have 5.7 volts on the connector. So that's an important piece to know. Okay, so what we're going to look at is just kind of go through all of these, see which ones have to do with backlight here, and kind of go from there. So it looks like this top one here has to do with backlight. This has to do with backlight. So pin 1, 2, 4. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Don't think so. I am. Okay, so I'm gonna say 1, 2, and 4 have to do with backlight. I don't see anything else really on here that has to do with that. So what we'll do is we'll go to ZXW. Now, one thing, if you notice the schematics, you'll see the pin number next to each line. Okay, so you'll see 1, 3, 2, 4 right there. If you go to ZXW, you will see the same thing. So it's pin 1. It kind of puts it in layout of the board, which I find fantastic. So it looks like this pin is going to, okay, come on, go away. If this pin is going to have something to do with backlight, you'll see the name down here, okay, PP, LCM, LCD, backlight, Cat2 connector, okay, and then this is going to happen every time. Let's see if we just close this, if it'll stop doing that. Normally it doesn't be that annoying. So if we, come on, yeah, there we go. So if we click on that, you'll see down here, it gives you the name. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is when we get to the board, is a visual inspection. So we'll knock out the visual inspection, and then if the visual inspection passes, we will go ahead and start taking diode mode measurements of the connector itself. Okay, so we'll take diode measurements of pin 1, 2, and 3. Was there one more that has something to do with backlight? I don't see anything. I mean, if anything else, let's take measurements of these power rails, because they may have something to do with backlight. But first, we're going to mainly concentrate on 1, 2, and 4 here. So let's go ahead and start our visual inspection. Okay, we can disable this and do scope cam. I'm gonna make this bigger here. All right, so do our visual inspection. The connector itself looks okay. All right, and if we kind of go around, you will see, oof. All right, yeah, that doesn't look good. All right, that's more than likely going to be our issue, but if not, it's going to be definitely a issue. So now that we see it looks like a broken capacitor, resistor, fuse, whatever it is, we don't know yet. We will go ahead and look at ZXW, but I'm sure that's going to be an issue. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look. We'll go back to ZXW and see what is going on there. Turn this off, there we go. So if we look, where was that? It was up here somewhere, so that's going to be the one. So all right, PP LCM BL Cat 1 on one side, and then the same thing but connector. So that's going to be pin 4 actually. So one of the ones we were looking at prior on the schematic here. So that's going to be our issue. If there may be another issue, the reason it happened, it probably is going to be tech damage, but there may be a short on this line, so we're going to want to check that out as well. But just for you know, the learning experience, let's go ahead and take those diode mode measurements and see what's going to happen. Remember, what we're expecting to see, and we'll go back here one more time to ZXW, what we're expecting to see on those is on pin 1, 606, pin 2, 500, pin 4, 605, okay? And it may not be exactly that, but it should be close. All right, so let's go back to the scope camera and go ahead and do our diode mode measurements. Let me do this though, actually. Before we do that, I want to make it so you guys can see the multimeter. Let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, so the first thing I want to actually point out is the setting you're supposed to be on, which is down here on the little line with an arrow going one way and then a line down it. If you look at that closely, I'm not sure if this crappy webcam will get it up a little bit. You'll see it, that's the one there. All right, it's kind of symbolizing the way a diode works. A diode will only let electricity pass one way. So if you see the arrow, it's going one way and then a line down across it, signifying that electricity will not come back the other way. So that is what you want to be in when you're taking diode mode measurements. So we'll go ahead and put that back down there. Hopefully you can read it. And we can start. Oh, one more thing before I start taking those measurements. I like these little thin probes here that you can attach just about any multimeter lead. Those are fantastic. I love them. They're very long. What I do is I just hold them from the tip, so it really doesn't affect me that much. At first, it was a real turnoff that they were so long and weird looking, but you know, I got used to it. So first thing with diode mode is you want to have red probe on ground. That is an important part. That's kind of how everybody does it. So when you see my diode measurements, I always have red probe on ground, and then taking my measurements with the ground probe, the black probe. So we'll go ahead and do that. And what I like to do just to confirm is I like to go somewhere, pick ground, or that I believe is ground, and then just go somewhere where I know is ground, like the SIM card tray, and make sure I've got that beep of continuity of full ground. So, and then make sure I'm actually on ground with my red probe. So again, pin 1 we were expecting 606. So 6, or what was it, 6 something? That's close enough, whatever it was before, it was around 600. And then pin 2, we're going to have 538. And then pin 4, we have OL, which is what you would expect if you have something broken in half like this. But let's do this. So this more than likely is from tech damage, but this could also be from, like, let's say there is a short to ground on this side of the fuse, or can't point with my mouse, this side of the fuse here, okay? That could also cause something like this to happen where it can blow up like that. But so let's go ahead and see if we have a short on either side of this. We're definitely not going to have a short over here, it would have shown here, so this would be the side I'm worried about. And what do we have there? 630. So that's kind of what we expected to have at the connector. So that we can say, if we fix this, then this backlight will have full backlight and be functioning properly. And 2 years ago, don't give me such a hard time, I did not have a microscope and I did not know it was this easy to fix these type of things. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is take that sucker off, clean up the pads, and go from there. Alright guys, so we'll go ahead and attempt to fix this bad boy. First, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the rest of the crud out of here. Alright, so the way I do that is I turn my hot air station on, And one thing you'll learn about me very quick is I hate putting hot air onto an iPhone or MacBook Pro, MacBook of any type, because it's dangerous, but we gotta do what we gotta do. You'll see me use like a micro pencil and stuff when normal people would use just hot air. I really don't like using that hot air stuff. So as soon as I find my scalpel or little blade here, there we go. Okay, so go ahead and put some hot air. I'm not even gonna take the board out of the housing for this one since it's right on top, very easy. So kind of heat up the entire area here, and I'm on very low temperature with this overfill because it just, honestly, you don't even really need hot air because this stuff just comes right off. So with the low temperature I'm using, honestly, it's like a breathing on the board a little too heavily. So yeah, now we got all that crap out of there. So you can see that's broken pieces of the filter there that we have left. Now what we'll do, clean that up a little bit, we'll flip this way. Alright. Add a little bit of too much flux. Ooh, yeah, that was definitely too much flux there. A little bit of too much flux, okay. So let's go ahead with my hot tweezers. These things are fantastic. What is all over these tweezers? I'll clean that up a little bit. Better, yeah, okay. So we'll just kind of come in here, be very careful not to touch any of the plastic or anything around that. And we'll just kind of pick that right up. We'll set that right there for right now. You can see that it's just broken. Looks like complete crap. And that is going to be no bueno. Alright, so we'll kind of go ahead and clean up these pads here. They look beautiful. Perfect. So what we're going to do now is we are going to jump to a donor board that I thought I should bring, just in case it was something like this. And you'll see actually this one has overfill all the way around. I'm not sure how they did that there with breaking that filter. Anyway. A text tools determine, huh? Let me clear that up for you guys. Alright. Which one? Over here, that's right. And honestly, this tip here, if you see it, is kind of too big for what I'm doing. It's so wide, kind of heating up the entire area of the board. But again, this is, ooh, that was way too deep. You see that? That's why we shouldn't use scalpels instead. I actually have, that's a great lesson. Don't use a scalpel when you have the proper tools. Now, one of the proper tools, and I will is going to be the 007 blade by Quan Lee. They're fantastic. And they don't do what I just did to the board, which is mutilate the crap out of it. And I'm sure I will hear from the freaking trolls, because I just brutalized this donor. But it's a donor. So we will go ahead and remove that overfill crap. There. A little bit more. There we go. And let's see, maybe we can use the right amount of flux on the donor board. That's the right amount of flux. We will go ahead. And for when I'm taking them off the donor boards, I do not like to leave the piece that I'm taking off in my hot tweezer. So what I'll do is I'll have an extra set of tweezers right next to me in my other hand. And as soon as this sucker lifts off the board, what I'll do is I'll just kind of take it away with my other tweezers here, and just kind of like that, so it's not constantly under heat. I'm not even sure it will do any damage. Again, I don't know 100% everything about this industry, so I just don't like to put something under constant heat if I don't have to. And we'll go back to our board that needs to be fixed so it can be a donor board in the future. I'll put this sucker back down on here. Kind of lay it. Now it does not matter. Ooh, that doesn't even look good. Look at that. It looks like crap on the other side of that. Anyway, it does not matter what direction you put the filter. Okay, just like a resistor, capacitors doesn't matter. Sometimes it does matter, but what I've discovered is if it does matter, I can't talk today, then it will have some kind of indication. on it. So let's see here if I can do this without shaking a bunch and making myself look like I have Parkinson's or something along those lines. Come on, go in there. There we go. I like to nudge it on both sides, make sure it's actually on there. And then I take a Q-tip and I go to my rubbing alcohol. Kind of dip that in there a little bit. And normally I have compressed air for this, but I'm going to use just my hot air gun, have it at 100 Celsius with high airflow, just to kind of dry that rubbing alcohol, get the flux off the board and whatnot. Because if you see what happens if you don't clean your flux, you kind of get that corroded look on the board months later. And that just looks gross. And I've discovered that from my donor boards that I never clean up. They just look, they won't be water damaged, but they will look like they have been through hell because I just never clean my flux on those. So if we look at that one donor, in a month or two it'll probably look like crap. So now, I've got like a little something on there. I think it's just crap. Okay. That looks not horrible. Alright. Maybe a little more for my OCD. Alright, that should be good. That should be fine. Alright, so now the moment of truth. We get to figure out if this sucker works. Alright, so now that we believe that we fixed the device, let's go ahead and test it. And before I test it with the actual known good screen and put it on and power her up and all that good stuff, I want to test it by the diode mode test that I was just telling you guys about. So what we'll do is we're not going to go through the 3 pins again, but we'll just go through the one that gave us the issue, which was pin 4, the second one down from the right there. So we'll go ahead and like I said, we should be expecting 600 something along those lines. So let's double check. And now, let me make it so you can see. Okay, so let's go ahead and double check that pin and see. We now have 629, which is great. That's kind of what we were expecting, so it should work. But let's go ahead and put power to the device and put a new screen, or put a new screen on first, and then put power to the device and see if this sucker works. All right, so now it's going to come to the testing part with the actual screen on the board. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and connect our known good screen from Mobile Centrics. There we go. Perfect. And instead of using the battery that has been sitting on my shelf for 2 years waiting for this guy to pick up his phone that I couldn't fix 2 years ago, we're going to use what's called a DC power supply. A DC power supply is a great tool. It acts as a battery for iOS, for every device really, and it tells us a lot of information because it will tell us essentially what the device is drawing from the battery connector, which is all the information or a lot of the information that you need to diagnose the device on some issues. So in this situation, we're just going to use it to power up the phone quickly and get it on and working. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you what I'm looking at here. So this is the, I don't know if I flipped that video. Anyway, this is the DC power supply. Now I like to have mine set at 4.1 volts. Okay, and then the current here, depending on the device, if it's an iPad, I'll set it a little higher, but on an iPhone, I'll have it set to 2.5, okay? And then this is the little contraption that I have. It's called an iPower Max. Essentially, this converts the DC power supply into little adapters that will fit onto the iPhone battery connector. So you'll see here, and I swear if the feedback is positive from these videos, I will invest in better equipment like the other professionals have. So you can also connect it to the charging port for the prompt to boot option with this little squid here, and that's that prompt to boot. But since I have it in the housing, and I have the power button ability, I'll just go ahead and use that. So I'm going to turn on my DC power supply. Now, one of the things you'll notice when I first turn it on here is that, and it's off and it goes on, you'll see it pulls a little bit at first. That's going to be this squid that a normal iPhone will not pull anything before prompted boot. So if you see that with this device, that's normal. And now we'll go ahead and turn on the device. Let me see if I can get it so that my light won't bother right here. And you will see, voila, it is fixed. It has full backlight. That's awesome. Cool. Now I did want to as well show you, I'm going to turn this off here and turn it back on, because I did want to show you here what a normal boot current looks like, what an iPhone looks like when it's booting from DC power supply. So this is before prompted boot, before I tell the phone to turn on. Okay, now I'm going to hold the prompted boot, and you will see it fluctuates. Okay, it starts pretty low, and now we have Apple logo, and you will see it start to fluctuate. Okay, and this is kind of the boot process you would expect there. Yeah, see, it gets a little higher. This is all normal. And there we go. It's booted and it has full backlight. Now, one thing is you'll see if you turn off the screen, it doesn't go away right away, okay? So if you wait a minute or 15, 30 seconds, it should drop to almost nothing to conserve battery life, okay? Or this phone has other issues we're about to find out in a minute. Oh, there it goes, finally. All right. Yeah, that's what you would expect over time. As it's kind of sitting there idling, that's what I would expect to see. That small fluctuation, very little draw right there, okay? Okay, great. So we fixed our donor board. Now let's move on to the one that actually pays me, which is going to be, again, the first time I'm actually looking at this device. I picked it up on my way home today. The client called and said, hey, I've got one for you. And the screen's not even connected, just kind of thrown on there. He said, I've got one for you. And I was like, oh, no rear camera. Front camera works. So I thought this may be a good lesson as well. Let's hope. If it gets too complicated, it might be its own video. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and start with the visual inspection on this board because, like I said, we find the solution there a lot. And especially with something like camera not working, this will be where we start. So let's take off all of this little goo, and you know what sometimes helps is if we put a little bit of ISO on that little rubber gasket or foam, whatever you want to call that. It will make it easier to remove. Let's see if we can get this up here. Come on. Don't be like that. Come on. Come on. Alright, there you come. Maybe. Maybe you're coming, maybe you're not. Oh no. Alright. And what will remove the rest of this junk? Come on. I love these tweezers, but they can't grab on to to this kind of thing for crap. There we go. Alright, get that out of there. Alright, so now let's take a look. So it's your rear camera that's not working. Let's take a look at what we got going on. Is that in focus for you guys? So I'm going to zoom in because we're going to do a close-up visual inspection. Okay. So those two caps look weird, but nothing to gawk at, nothing to be like, ha, that's our issue. That looks a little weird. So sometimes these will look weird or have gunk on them, but that's just from the little adhesive that they use to hold down that gasket that we just took off that foam. So everything other than that little piece of gunk there on the connector shouldn't affect it too much. Looks okay from the visual inspection standpoint. So this will not be one of those that visual inspection will give us the obvious answer, unfortunately. So on to the next step of diagnosing what's going on here. Just going through this one more time. Cool. Alright. Nothing that jumps out at me as being clearly wrong with this device. So what we're going to do is we're going to take diode mode measurements at the connector. And for that, I have a special tool. Okay, so for the 8 Plus, I've actually got a cool little tool to do diode measurements. It's called the iBridge. I believe Mobile Centrics has them now. Essentially, the reason I like these so much is, look, I've already got the rear camera taken out of the packaging. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it outside of the scope, but you'll see you have one side that connects to the camera itself, one side that connects to the board, okay? And then on this side, you'll actually see kind of a printout of the connector here, and you can diode mode those little pads, and you'll see they have numbers next to them, and it'll be clear under the scope here. Now, one of the reasons that this exists is because in order to get the proper voltages out of a connector, the camera has to be attached and on. And the same thing with backlight. To get proper voltages on backlight, if you're measuring it, you have to have the screen connected and the screen on. So sometimes it's very hard to get to a place where you can take that measurement and have the device on. So they made these little things. They're fantastic. You don't have to go to ZXW to look at the proper measurements. You don't have to go to the wiki page and look at my pictures. It's right on here, and that is fantastic. So that's what I'm going to use since I have this tool for this model. I'm going to go ahead and use it. And I'm not even measuring voltages at this point. Battery's still disconnected. Everything's still off, but I'm going to use this just to get the diode measurements because I can look right at it through my scope. So that's going to make that really easy. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so we're about to start taking some diode measurements. I just want to show you I have the connector, or this little iBridge connected through the connector, but since I'm doing diode mode, I don't actually have the camera connected. I do not need it for this to be connected. So now we're just going to run through here, and we're going to make sure these are all correct on the diode side. That's going to be the 415OL298, and we're going to go through all the way down and go back up and see if there's any abnormalities, whatever. I can't even think of the word right now. See if I can get this in the viewer. You can see multimeter and device. Wake up multimeter. And here we go. Okay. Can't see the multimeter. Look at the multimeter, not at me. Okay. Alright, so we'll make sure we have ground here. Perfect, we do. Alright, so we should have 579. Close enough. Let me just check that for ground good. OL good. 417. OL. 296. 656. You see there, it's slightly higher here, but nothing to really worry about. Everything looking good so far. Ground. 430, ground, 659. Now these are all looking good so far. Alright, let's try the next one, get that in view for you guys. these are all looking good so far. Ooh, that's a little bit of a problem. That's going to be low, okay? So that one's low. That one's good. So keep in mind, pin 14 should have 389. And if you look here, it's even got the same I2C. I2C, that is something I'll go over in a second. Let me finish going through. Just remember, pin 14 was stupidly low. And I would expect nothing else is going to be low other than that one. Now this will be the first time I've had to work on an I2C line. Essentially, what that is a data line. Alright, so if that data line is low, it's like, the way Jessa said it was really good. It's like an intercom system, okay? And if only one person can talk in that intercom, and if something's causing static on it, it will not be able to communicate. And again, these are all looking pretty good, except for that one. So, alright, so that was pin 14. And if you look here, they're both I2C lines, and if this even was, let's say it was like 3, say it was close, let's say it was further off or closer than it is, and these two are both the same, I'd say maybe that's normal, but look at that, at 136, that's really, really low. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that line on ZXW here. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull ZXW back up and go to the correct phone. So this is the 8 Plus, and it doesn't matter if it's going to be Intel or Qualcomm because the same camera setup. So it's a second connector, pin 14. So let's go pin 14. And let's look, where does that go? I don't see where that goes, guys. Do you see? Am I blind? Where are you hiding? Ah! Here we go. And look, the customer said that they replaced the back. I forgot to give you guys the history of the device, so let me do that real quick. It was a broken back glass. Customer came in for broken back glass. The business quoted them for a back glass and camera, so I'm assuming that the camera was not working when they brought it in. So it looks like this may be a drop damage. Hopefully it's that resistor, because let's see what happens if we flip over the resistor because of the CPU. So if it's not this resistor, I'm going to call this a no fix and send it to Greg so he can fix my CPU, because he's got to get to that. Contact Greg Wade, by the way, if you ever need a CPU swap. He loves doing those. Alright, so going to go ahead at this point and disassemble the device fully and take it out so we can get to the other side. According to ZXW, there's supposed to be a filter right in here. And they can't tell because of the corrosion. This is a VCC main cap that is clearly short. Okay, I doubt it's making contact with the board, because that's going to be an issue. So we're going to remove that off. And then the resistor we care about is going to be right in here. Alright, so you'll see on this side we have the filter on one, or this is the filter that we have for PP1V8 on one side, and then on the other side it's PP1V8 cam wide, so I can assume that's going to be important for camera. And then the cap that looked like crap there, we have main. Again, I'm not sure how this phone turns on. That cap cannot be touching the board. That pad must be just corroded away underneath. And then this is the resistor that we cared about, or that what our diode mode brought us to, which is the clock line for the rear camera. And again, that area, this entire area is just destroyed. So let's go ahead and clean that up a little bit and see. Ooh, there's also, what is this down here? Because just to show you before we find it on ZXW, this little component right here does not look healthy either. Let's see what that is. Okay. Where are you? Okay, it's going to be right next to the no stuff. So that is going to be another main cap. How does this phone even turn on? That's what I want to know. Okay, so let's remove all that crap. First, let's clean her up with some of that ISO. Let's you clean her up. Not too bad. Not too bad. Well, horrible, but not too horrible. All right. You still on low airflow? Yes. Okay. Dry. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove some of these dirty bastard caps. We'll start with the small one. Even though the manu's not showing up short now, I don't want it to in the future. But if we look at that, I don't know if that's corrode. There's a pad there or not. And we gotta continue to look and make sure you guys are focused. Alright, and then this one, sure is just gonna fall off as well. The right amount of pressure is applied. Come on, like a loose tooth there. It's on the underfill too. I don't know if I'm. Come on, baby. Alright, so we're gonna actually have to bump up some heat here and get this underfill out of here. Should have done this from the beginning. Instead of trying to mess around with it. So what we'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and use a little low airflow and low temp to remove this underfill crap. And we'll wait until that kind of heat up the entire area. That looks like crap too. We'll check all these components here, make sure they're good. But first, let's remove the shit that we know is bad. Come on, board. Come on, underfill. You know you don't want to be there. Go away. Go away. There we go. That bitch is off there now. Alright. Sorry if that wasn't in focus the whole time, guys. I was just removing the crud. So that filter that was below that cap actually doesn't look horrible like I was thinking it was going to. So that may be, let me get, what was it, resistor? Let's see here. Yes, filter it was, okay. That filter doesn't look horrible. We'll still make sure we have continuity between it. So I'll let you see the webcam. Make sure we're in diode mode, we are. Find my other probe. We'll just make sure we have continuity between the two different sides of this filter. Maybe. And we do, so that's going to be good. And then we're going to have anything between these two here. Alright, so in order to test a resistor, we're going to move over here. But, and to ZXW, so first we need to figure out if what R3901 should have across it. So 8 plus schematics are not available, so what we'll have to do is we'll have to go to the iPhone 8 and pray that it's similar. Oh, maybe the 8 plus is available, and I'm mistaken. It's the 8 that's not available. Alright, so what are we looking for? R3901. So we will do find R3901. Alright, and let's see what we have here. Oh, it is a 0 ohm resistor, which means it's basically a wire, and we don't have a wire between that. What we have is nothing, if I remember correctly. Let's check it one more time. Not a damn thing. OL. OL all the way. So that baby's got to be replaced. So that means we got to clean up that underfill around it. And with underfill, I know I didn't just do it a minute ago, but really you should use a board heater. That makes it a lot better to remove that crap. Gets it up very easy with board heater and the top heat. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and grab my board heater and adjust my setup here, and then we will go ahead and get that sucker out of there. Alright guys, so my board heater just decided to randomly quit working. So I'm going to have to do this in the old-fashioned way, or with just top air only, which I really don't like to do, but when you're in a pinch, what are you going to do? So we're going to kind of heat the area. Again, I'm going with real low temperature here, with bottom heat and top heat. This stuff comes right off. With just top heat, I'm about to find out. And excuse my Parkinson's as I try to get my 007 blade in there. Now I don't want to just knock this off the board like I would that cap there, like I did with this little main cap, because I actually want to put a new one of these there, where I'm not going to put that cap back. Screw that main cap. Main's got plenty of caps, it doesn't need that one. Whereas I have a feeling rear camera will not work without this resistor. Come on. And underfill is just Apple's way of saying, go screw yourself. Just so you guys know. Come on. See, with bottom heat, this stuff would have already been done. This would have been a non-issue. I think that's going to be almost good enough for me to get my tweezers in there, or my hot tweezers, and then we can move on. Alright, there we go. Now we're making progress. We're getting there. Again, I really don't like putting hot air on the board, so. I thought that was a solder ball there for a second. It is not, it's a resistor. Okay. Alright, so that should be good enough to get that out of there. I'm going to take it out of this board holder, so I don't need that anymore. Alright, beautiful. So let's take that bad boy off. And again, just the right amount of flux. Just a little touch there. Alright, in with the tweezers, and you'll see little things like this with, at least my tweezers are pain in the butt. Look, come on. Come off of there. This thing just falling apart. There we go. Look at that. That's like broken in half. Get off my tweezers. Alright, so it looks like a new one will go right on there without an issue. Cool beans. Alright. Let's go ahead and... I say cool beans. I had a customer come in the other day and fix his phone. He said he was tickled to death. I haven't heard that since I was a kid. Like 5 years ago. Alright, that looks very good. Perfect. That's ready for a new resistor. So let me go over how we would find the resistor that we're looking for. So what we would do is we're going to turn off scope cam and we're going to go to ZXW. Again, R3909, I believe that we already have that pulled up in our schematic. And that is a 0 ohm resistor. Okay. So what we are going to do is we're going to go to the iPhone 6 schematic because we have a donor board sitting right here waiting for us to pull a 0 ohm resistor from. I'm just going to type in 0.00. And that's going to take me to a resistor on the iPhone 6 that is the same. And we're going to make sure kind of all this other information matches. This here, not 100%. Again, I'm new. I'm not 100% what that means. 0 ohm resistor, 0.00. So we're going to try to make sure all that matches. So it does in this instance. So what we're going to do is go to ZXW again. We're going to look for R2008, R2008 on the iPhone 6. So we'll go back over here. iPhone 6. And we're going to search up here in the key area for our, excuse me, I swear it's not Corona, R2008, and it is on, where is this at? On the back side of the board of the iPhone 6. So let's go ahead and grab our iPhone 6 donor, and hopefully that resistor is still there. Let's go back here, scope camera. Alright, so I think it said it was over yonder somewhere. Okay, so this is that general area. Let's pull up DXW, figure out exactly where it was at. So the top of view. Oh, okay. So, I don't know if I want this resistor, but we might have to work with it. So just to show you where the resistor is at from ZXW to this is going to be, go back down here so you guys can see it, this one here. And again, I promise guys, I will work on my camera work because this is just brutal. I will get better with age. This one. Alright, so it's going to be this one here, down there in between this plate and that. So normally I would never say dismantle shields or destroy shields, but this is a donor. So let's, who cares about this? Make sure this is the donor. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can see I've already removed a couple of things here. Alright, so, ooh, that's not going to work for us. A little too big. See if I can destroy these tweezers. And destroy them I shall. Alright. I didn't really like these tweezers anyway. There we go. That's the kind of dismantling of the shields that I do not recommend on a repaired device. There we go. Destroy that board. Yeah. Oh well. Now I can easily access that resistor that I'm looking for. We'll go ahead and pick up tweezers that I actually like, that I would never just hurt them the way I hurt those tweezers. That's the one I'm looking for right there. Alright, so we'll add just the right amount of flux. Just touch that bad boy. And I say just the right amount of flux because as I do these videos, you'll see I am known to add too much flux and then hate myself in the future for it. So you'll see that. Alright, so come on. Oh, wait, I'm almost forgetting my second pair of tweezers to get it off the hot ones as quick as possible. Come on. I think I'll just be able to heat one side, because maybe not. And there it comes. Beautiful. Alright. Now if you look how I'm holding this resistor, it's just touching the tweezers, okay? I'm not actually trying to grasp it with the tweezers. That's how you damage them and lose them, because they'll fling right across the room. So really they kind of stick to the tweezer. So I probably just lost it because I just touched my tweezer somewhere. Oh no, here it is, maybe. That looks like a cat too big, yeah. Where did I lose my resistor at? Wow. I just touched my tweezer somewhere and lost my donor resistor. Ain't that lovely? Is it on this board? I touched you somewhere and that's where I lost it. No. Dang it. Is it on my mat anywhere? Yeah, I think we're gonna say that one's gone. That's unfortunate. And I just dismantled that 6 for nothing. So we move on. And back to the iPhone 6 schematic. And this is what happens when you lose a resistor that is so small. Oh, 60229 or 2009 is also 0 ohm resistor. So it just changes by one number and grab that one instead. And look, it's the one right next to the one that I just lost. So go back over here. Alright, we're back on donor, and we're going to grab that bottom resistor. Hopefully we won't lose this resistor this time. That one was easier to get to than the other one. Alright. Beautiful. Now again, maybe this time I won't lose it, but you see how it's just touching my tweezers. I'm not trying to grasp it, even though when I wasn't grasping it before I lost it anyway. There's not really, in my opinion, or from what I know of, a way not to lose these things if you touch them the wrong way. Alright, we're just going to place that sucker on this bad boy. Kind of like a place mark. Sometimes we have to use 2 sets of tweezers for this. Go back on the board, perfect. Clean this up for you guys. I'm trying to keep this camera in focus as much as I can. Again, remember guys, my first video. I will learn with time. Alright, and let's... Alright, so you can see kind of how I'm just kind of touching one side of it. Come on now. Nope, little bastard. As soon as you start trying to record a video and teach people how to do this, these little bastards just want to run around and make it so you can't Can't do what you want. There we go. I think it's on there now. There we go. That sucker's on there that time. Alright, let's clean up all this flux off the board. Alright. Let's go ahead and cool. Alright. Let's see. Alright, we're going to test the same way we just tested that iPhone 6 backlight. I believe it was second connector and pin 14 if memory serves me correctly. I'm just going to double check that. So we will go ahead and go back to display, go back to iPhone 8 Plus, and again it doesn't matter which Intel or Qualcomm. I believe it's pin 14. Yes, it was pin 14. Okay, so now we'll go back to the microscope, and pin 14 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pins down. Okay. Where is my multimeter? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think I put that resistor on properly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I messed up, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh wow, okay, let's see. Where did I mess up? I don't think I have enough solder on this thing. I think that's where I messed up. Not enough solder. You can double check though. Let's see, I think that's going to be star for solder, and that's why. So we are going to add, again, just the right amount of flux. And I'm just going to touch the tip of my handy dandy pencil with some flux here. And then I'm going to hold that resistor down in place because I do not want it to go flying, or not go flying, but come with my hot air, or with my hot tweezers here. Which them bastards are known to do. Toasted. Alright, let's see now if I have it. And knowing my luck, I will not. I'll have to take that off and pad that pillow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, nope, I got it. 407. Okay, I think that will be a fix. Let me go ahead and clean up my flux. Make it look like nobody's been here before. Well, I guess not with that missing capacitor that I will not and have no intention of putting back. Apple doesn't really know how many capacitors are on their phone anyway. Alright, cool. Now we can put this phone back in the housing and test it. Right, and we got a rear camera working perfect. So I'll go ahead and clean the rest of the flux off the board, and then we've called both of those devices a fix. Great. I hope you guys learned something.